I want you to do something for me right now. Put your hand in your pocket, or look to your right, or to your left. It's there, isn't it? It's always there. You brought it to the bathroom this morning. You checked it before you went to sleep last night. You probably looked at it within the first 30 seconds of waking up. And here's the part that should gently disturb you. You don't even remember the sign to do any of that. Everyone calls it a phone. That's the first lie. This is not a phone. A phone is a device you use to call people. This thing, this rectangular slab of glass and aluminum in your pocket, is a portable dopamine delivery system engineered by some of the smartest and most well-funded people on planet Earth, specifically designed to make sure you never put it down. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a job description. Former Google design ethicist Tristan, a man who worked inside these companies, called it a race to the bottom of the human brainstem. The goal was never to connect you. The goal was to always capture as much of your attention as humanly possible and sell that information to advertisers. Your attention is the product. You are not the customer. You are what is being sold. And they are exceptionally good at their jobs. Let me actually explain what is happening inside your brain every time you pick up your phone. Dopamine. You've heard of it. Most people think dopamine is the pleasure chemical. That's not quite right. Dopamine is the anticipation chemical. It's the chemical that your brain releases when it expects a reward, not when it gets one, when it expects one. This is the mechanism that kept your ancestors alive. Spot a deer in the forest, dopamine spike. Chase the deer, dopamine drives the pursuit. Catch the deer, dopamine drops, satisfaction sets in. You eat, you rest. Beautiful system, kept humans alive for over 200,000 years. Now, you open Instagram, will there be new likes, new comments, no followers, message to somebody you like, you don't know. And that uncertainty, that variable reward, is the most addictive dopamine trigger in nature. It's the exact same mechanism as a slot machine. Pull the lever, maybe you win, or maybe you don't. Scroll the feed, maybe something excites you, maybe it doesn't. The neuroscience is identical, and the people who built these platforms absolutely knew it. They hired neuroscientists, behavioral psychologists, and addiction specialists, not to protect you from addiction. Your brain never evolved to handle this. 200,000 years of human hardware running software was never designed for, and big tech charges you nothing for the privilege. Here's where it gets genuinely scary. The prefrontal cortex, the front part of your brain. This is what separates human beings from every other animal on this planet. This is the seat of long-term thinking, impulse control, deep focus, planning, decision-making, empathy. This is what allowed humans to build civilizations, write literature, compose symphonies, develop medicine, go to the moon. The prefrontal cortex takes 25 years to fully develop. 25 years. And we are handing smartphones to children that are 9, 10, 11 years of age. What does sustained smartphone use do to a developing prefrontal cortex? It atrophies it, not metaphorically, literally. New pathways associated with sustained attention, deep focus, and delayed gratification physically weaken when they are chronically underused. You cannot build a muscle you never use. You cannot build a mind you never challenge. And what are we replacing those pathways with? Rapid context switching, infinite scroll, 15-second videos, notification responses, the constant fragmented chaos of a feed designed to never let your brain settle. We're literally rewinding an entire generation's brain architecture in real time. And we did it for engagement metrics. Let that sit. I want to talk about something that nobody really quantifies because it's hard to measure. Presence. The ability to actually be somewhere. To sit with a human being and be fully there. To have a conversation without half your brain waiting for a notification. To experience a moment without immediately thinking how to document it for an audience. I spent 80 days in Valencia, Spain, on an Erasmus internship. I was around young people from across Europe and beyond every single day, and I watched something that genuinely disturbed me. People had dinner together, on their phones, not occasionally, constantly. The default state was phone. Being present with each other was the interruption. A beautiful city, incredible architecture, real human beings sitting right across from them, and they were somewhere else entirely. We have built a generation that is physically present but mentally absent everywhere they go. They are at dinner but they're on TikTok. They are at a concert but they're filming it. They are with their friends but they are performing for strangers online. The experience of being alive actually being alive in your body in a moment with other people has been replaced by the documentation of the performance of being alive. And the crazy part, the performance gets more attention than the life ever did, so the incentive is completely broken. But okay, maybe you're fine with the dopamine hijack. Maybe you don't care about your attention span. Maybe presence is overrated. Let's talk about something more concrete, your data. Every single thing you do on your smartphone is being recorded, packaged, and sold. What you search, what you watch, how long you pause on a specific type of content, who you talk to, where you go, what you buy, what you almost bought but didn't, what you looked at 2 a.m. when you couldn't sleep. All of it. A complete psychological profile of who you are, what you want, what you fear, and what you can be manipulated into doing. And we know this isn't theoretical because in 2018, got a window into exactly what this data can be used for. Cambridge Analytica, a political consulting firm, harvested approximately 87 million Facebook users' data without their consent, exploiting a loophole in Facebook's zone platform, and used their psychological profiling data to run targeted political influence campaigns. They didn't just know who you were, they knew your personality type, your emotional vulnerabilities, exactly which message, framed in exactly which way, will most effectively change your political behavior. 87 million people, psychologically profiled, politically targeted, and Facebook knew about the data harvesting and said nothing for 2 years. Mark Zuckerberg sat in front of the United States Senate, visibly uncomfortable in a suit that didn't quite fit, and answered questions for senators who generally did not understand what they were asking about, which was somehow both terrifying and reassuring at the same time. The most powerful data company in human history being questioned by people who needed the internet explained to them, and nothing fundamentally changed. Now, TikTok. I need you to pay very close attention to this part because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. TikTok, owned by ByteDance, a Chinese company, is the most aggressively addictive social media platform ever created. The algorithm is in a generally different category. It knows what you want to see before you even see it. The average session length, the retention rates, the behavioral data collection, it operates at a level that makes Instagram look amateur. It is engineered for maximum psychological capture, minimum friction, maximum time on platform. It is, by every measurable metric, the most effective attention extraction machine ever built. Now here's where it gets interesting. China has its own version of TikTok. It's called Douyin. Same company, same technology, completely different product. Douyin, the version Chinese children use, has a daily time limit of 40 minutes for those who are under the age of 14. It promotes educational content, history, science, and achievements. It actively pushes content about patriotism and national development. The same company built a tool for Chinese children that limits usage and promotes education, and built a tool for Western children designed to capture as many hours of the day as possible with an infinite scroll of the most neurologically stimulating content imaginable. China gave their kids Douyin, they gave us TikTok. And then they acted surprised when American politicians wanted to ban it. The audacity. The absolute audacity. Though to be fair, Meta, YouTube, and Snapchat have been doing the same thing to Western children for years. China just did it more efficiently and more obviously. At least TikTok didn't pretend to care. I have to talk about Instagram and young women, because this is where it stops being funny. In 2021, the Wall Street Journal published internal Facebook research, their own research conducted by their own employees, that concluded that Instagram is harmful to a significant amount of teenage girls. Their words, not mine, their internal documents. 32% of teenage girls said that when they felt bad about their bodies, Instagram made them feel even worse. Teenagers struggling with suicidal thoughts. 13% of British users and 6% of American users trace the desire to kill themselves back to Instagram. Facebook knew this, had the research, internal documents, confirmed findings, and they did nothing because the engagement numbers were good. A 14-year-old girl, algorithmically served, an infinite stream of filtered, surgically altered, professionally lit images of physical perfection, compared constantly against an impossible standard that does not exist in nature, told by every metric the platform provides: likes, comments, followers, exactly how she measures up. And she doesn't. She can't. Nobody does. Because the standard is fake. The images are processed. The bodies are altered. The lives are performed. But the psychological damage is completely real. Eating disorders, anxiety, depression, self-harm, suicidal ideation in 14-year-old girls. Because engagement metrics needed to go up. That is what we are talking about when we talk about what smartphones have done to an entire generation. Not just attention spans, not just dopamine, real damage to real children, documented by the people causing it, who continued anyway. Now, Europe versus America on this issue, because there is a difference worth talking about. The European Union has actually moved. The GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, gave European citizens real rights over their data. The right to know what is collected, the right to have it deleted, the right to not be profiled without consent. Real fines for real violations. Not perfect, not nearly enough, but something. America, the country that invented these platforms, houses these companies, and has the most leverage over them, still largely unregulated at the federal level, still waiting for comprehensive privacy legislations, still having Senate hearings where senators ask Mark Zuckerberg if he knows how Facebook makes money. He makes money from you. That's how he makes money. That has always been how he makes money. The EU at least understood what the game was. America is still asking for the rule book while the game has been going for over 20 years. So, what do? I'm not gonna tell you to throw your phone in a river. I'm not gonna pretend I don't use these platforms. I have a YouTube channel. I'm on social media. This video exists because of the internet. But there's a difference between using a tool and being used by one. Some things I actually do, and these are real, not performance. I do not have social media apps on my phone's home screen. Friction matters. If opening Instagram requires 3 extra steps, I open it 3 times less. Notifications off. Almost all of them. Your phone should work for you, not get summoned like a dog every 12 minutes. The first 60 minutes of the morning, no phone, none. Your brain in the first 60 minutes of the day is in its most suggestible, most absorbent state. Do not let an algorithm be the first thing that writes on that blank page. And presence, deliberately, consciously choosing to be somewhere, to put the phone face down, to look at the person across from you, to actually be in the city you're visiting instead of filming it for people who aren't there. It sounds simple. It isn't, because the machine is designed specifically to make it hard. But knowing what the machine is doing to you is the first step to decide whether you're gonna let it. I'm 22 years old. I grew up with this. I know what it feels like to reach for your phone before you even know why. I know what the scroll feels like. I know what the dopamine hit of a notification feels like. And I also know what it feels like to just sit somewhere. Actually sit somewhere and be completely present. No phone, no performance, no documentation. Just a laugh in a moment that belongs entirely to you. That feeling is becoming rare. And the fact that it's becoming rare, the fact that genuine presence is now discipline you have to practice instead of the natural human default, that tells you everything about what these platforms have actually done to us. They sell this connection and deliver isolation with a better interface. Put your phone down, not forever, just long enough to actually remember what you're doing here.